igniting the sport's next phase. When old-school greatness aligns with new-school swagger, it's no longer about rivalry, it's about revolution. What are the implications? They are huge. This is more than just visibility. It's about power, mentorship, access, and long-term strategy. Bird's resources, reputation, and reach have now been combined with Reese's modern momentum and popularity. Suddenly, the landscape has changed. What about Caitlin Clark? She is no longer alone in determining the league's future. She has competition in the boardroom as well as on the court. This move forces Clark to rethink her own business strategy, to be more proactive, strategic, and perhaps even aggressive in exploiting her platform. Because, in 2025, basketball is more than simply a game, it is also a brand. Angel Reese is currently drafting a whole new playbook. Caitlin Clark changed the game, but Angel Reese, she just changed the rules. The timing could not have been more precise or calculated. With women's basketball experiencing a parabolic growth in worldwide viewership, sponsorship interest, and cultural importance, this relationship is not only smart, but historic. Will this compel other NBA greats to follow Bird's lead? Will Clark respond with a prominent mentor of her own? Is this the beginning of a new age in women's sports branding, in which alliances are just as important as talent? Fans are watching, brands are keeping an eye out, players are shifting. This is more than simply a sports headline. It's a turning point. But if you believe this tale will end soon, you're mistaken. Behind the scenes, the engines of narrative control are working harder than ever. The WNBA isn't simply watching from the sidelines. It's redefining itself completely. TV deals, streaming contracts, international expansion, every corporate choice is now examined against the backdrop of this new conflict. Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese are not just players, they are product lines, cultural voices, and market disruptors. When Larry Bird walked into the frame with Reese, he did more than just co-sign a player. He ushered in a movement. Consider the timing. Off-season buzz is at an all-time low. Media engagement is declining. And then Bam Bird enters the picture, fires the discourse, and reshapes the entire off-season narrative around a single seismic moment. This was not an unexpected move. It was a message. Every legend, analyst, and athlete heard it loud and clear. Meanwhile, Clark's inner circle is supposedly planning something even grander. Not a reactionary, not defensive, deliberate, monumental. According to multiple sources, she is in the process of negotiating a documentary agreement that will follow her entire journey from Iowa to Indiana, from underdog to icon. This is not a tell-all, but a redefinal, and she's not doing it alone. Rumors point to a collaboration with Ava DuVernay's media company, which is known for transforming real-life tension into cinematic brilliance. Imagine these headlines. Caitlin Clark breaks silence in Netflix exclusive game. A gradual burn, a build-up to something skillfully planned, precisely executed, and impossible to ignore. That is generational branding. Think of LeBron's The Decision and Serena's Vogue cover. It's more about story architecture than reactiveness, because this is the truth. Both athletes understand how to win. Now they're learning how to lead. The court is no longer the only venue, and the scoreboard isn't the only thing being monitored. Let's zoom out. This isn't just about shaking up the WNBA, it is capturing the interest of leagues all over the world. FIFA executives have chimed in. UFC promoters are examining their marketing approach. Even NFL influencers are using Reese and Clark as models for their next influencer efforts. ESPN's YouTube analytics showed that video featuring either star now receives 4 times more average view time than other WNBA coverage. That is not hype. That is database dominance. And the NBA, best believe they are also watching. According to reports, Adam Silver personally sought a brief on the Bird-Reese relationship and how it could pave the way for future mentor-league crossovers. But power has a cost. Already, both women are subjected to levels of scrutiny often reserved for 20-year veterans. Every tweet, brand deal, and post-game expression is being edited, studied, and reframed. What about the fans? They are more polarized than ever. To Reese admirers, she represents the bold, outspoken voice of a new age. Clark's supporters see her as a cold-blooded shooter who allows her game to speak for itself. But if you pay closely, you'll see something deeper going on. It is no longer a question of who is superior. It comes down to who defines what better means. Reese describes better as unapologetic visibility. Clark describes better as persistent greatness, and both are redefining dominance in women's sports. Internally, WNBA board meetings have begun to refer to this divide as the legacy fork. Yes, it now has a codename. Why? Because it is changing everything. From ticket pricing schemes to worldwide exhibition tours, the Reese-Clark effect is now an actual line item in how the league plans for growth. Sponsorships are also moving. According to a leaked internal presentation, corporate sponsors are now classified according on persona alignment. Brands that value conventional prestige, think Rolex, Mercedes, LinkedIn, are leaning toward Clark. Brands that value youthful rebellion, think Fashion Nova, Puma, Instagram are all in on Reese. This pattern is not a marketing coincidence. It's a new environment for identity-based sports marketing. And Reese and Clark are the case studies. Let's discuss Ripple endorsements. Michelle Obama allegedly called Angel Reese to congratulate her on the partnership's launch, complimenting her unapologetic visibility and strength. Serena Williams loved and uploaded a video of Reese's now famous bird moment. That post alone had 3.2 million views in just 8 hours. Meanwhile, Caitlin Clark was personally invited to speak at an upcoming leadership conference alongside Billie Jean King. Quiet, maybe, meaningless, absolutely not. That kind of institutional support does not just happen. It is earned, measured, and precisely timed. So now, every move is a calculation. Not simply, what do I say, but, what impact will this move have in 10 years? Few sportsmen, male or female, have ever faced such pressure. It's not only about basketball anymore. It's about legacy created in real time, scrutinized, and delivered to millions. Want proof that this is bigger than the United States? Reese's new merchandise line has sold out in 6 countries. Clark's jersey has become the best-selling women's jersey in Canada, Australia, and Germany. And WNBA League Pass subscriptions are increasing in Europe, particularly in areas where the sport was previously on life support. This is not a ripple. It is a cultural export, and it is exactly what women's basketball required to burst past the final barrier, the ceiling of global marketability. Each generation develops a rivalry. However, not every rivalry changes the culture. This one is accomplishing both, and we're only in the second quarter. Clark's next steps will be essential. Will she return to the spotlight in a full film, a viral speech, a career-defining postseason run, or something we've never seen before, something that will forever change the way athletes communicate their stories? So what about Reese? Can she continue this momentum over the course of a full season? Can her charisma translate into championships? One thing is for certain, every highlight, headline, and handshake now has weight. The Bird Reese move did not mark the end of anything. Rather, it signaled the start of the war for narrative supremacy. And Clark's silence, that is not retreat. That is a precursor. The next move is approaching. And when it arrives, it will be more than just an answer. It will be a revolution. Make no mistake, this competition is far from over. It is growing in size. As the WNBA prepares for the playoffs, the league is no longer only marketing games. It's a marketing drama, rivalries, redemption arcs. And in the heart of it all, 2 women who never asked for this limelight are suddenly rewriting the entire rulebook on how to behave once you're in it. Insiders have claimed that many top-tier sports networks are in talks to mic up Clark and Reese in future nationally televised games, not just to hear the play calls, but also to record the tension, the emotion, subtle power dynamics. Because each glance and word spoken now contributes to a larger story, a living documentary. Not only do you observe, but you also feel. They don't play for the scoreboard anymore. They're playing for the story that will be told 20 years from now. And here's where it becomes really powerful. This cultural moment has outgrown basketball. It has expanded into education, music, politics, and even fashion. A recent Vogue editorial suggested that Clark and Reese should appear on a dual cover feature, framed not as rivals, but as 2 powers propelling women's sports into a new age. You heard that correctly. The future face of sports can have 2 faces. Legacy versus loudness. What shapes the future? One path leads to legacy through consistency, which involves developing a resume brick by brick. The other creates effect by disrupting the stage each time she steps on it. Neither is wrong. Both are powerful. However, while the tale unfolds, fans, brands, and broadcasters are not favoring one over the other. They are taking sides in a movement. In that movement, every play becomes a headline, every quiet becomes a tactic, and every endorsement becomes a battlefield. This isn't just the biggest rivalry in women's sports. It's a historical moment that will one day recount to our children as if it were folklore. Reese versus Clark sold more than just tickets. It sold a vision for the future. So, when the next buzzer sounds, remember this. You're not only seeing 2 athletes, you're watching 2 cultural architects create a roadmap for what comes ahead. What about history? It is not written by the winner. It is written by the person who rewrites the rules. As the regular season approaches its conclusion, the true countdown isn't only on the scoreboard, it's in the hearts of fans who've been on this roller coaster from the start. And make no mistake, this isn't simply another rivalry to tire out. It's a cultural flashpoint. Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese's next matchup is being advertised as a national event rather than a game. ESPN has already shifted their broadcast schedule to prime time. Several A-list celebs are expected to attend. Major sponsors are lining up for in-game brand activations, and the numbers don't lie. The last time these 2 shared the court, social media impressions reached 180 million in just 48 hours. What about this time? It might triple. This isn't just a rivalry anymore, it's the most watched evolution of women's sports in modern history. Behind the scenes, both groups are preparing with an intensity not seen since March Madness. Reese reportedly hired a former NBA performance coach to assist her improve her footwork and screen reads. Meanwhile, Clark has gone completely black. Interviews, no appearances, no distractions, just reps, film, and concentrate. Her circle calls it the silence before the statement. But the influence is not limited to these two ladies. The rippling effect has triggered something tremendous throughout the WNBA. Rising rookies like Azrikia Jackson, Camila Cardoso, and JC Sheldon have begun to carve themselves bold identities. No longer content to play in Clark and Reese's shadows, but emboldened by their passion. The league is undergoing a transformation from a strictly organized league to a chaotically real, emotionally charged spectacle. It is not only about systems and statistics. It's about tales. And Clark versus Reese has set a new standard. Every athlete understands of owning their persona as much as their play. The game may end at the buzzer, but the echoes of this rivalry will shape generations. Finally, the attractiveness is not determined by who wins the next tip-off. It is in the fact that you are unable to look away. Because Clark isn't just looking to win. She's attempting to demonstrate that quiet may be louder than harsh talk. That obsession can last longer than a flash. The legacy, cannot be bought. And Reese, she isn't backing down either. She knows that swagger terrifies people. Visibility causes structures to shake, and every time she plays loudly, she represents every female who has ever been told to shrink. They're both correct. They are both necessary, and together, they've created the most compelling plot in sports. No one saw it coming, not fans, not insiders, not even Caitlin Clark herself. But when Angel Reese walked onto that stage beside Larry Bird, the entire basketball world stopped breathing. In a game-changing moment, Angel Reese, known for her fiery presence and unashamed confidence, teamed up with Larry Bird, a man who embodies everything old school about basketball. This was not your typical endorsement. This was a seismic shifter, clash of eras, styles, and legacies. Larry Bird, the Boston Celtics legend, has always been a man of integrity and precision. Angel Reese, on the other hand, personifies disruption, flair, and a new age mindset that lives in the spotlight. So, why would these two polar opposites work together? How does this affect the future of women's basketball? And possibly the most pressing question, where does this leave Caitlin Clark? When legends start choosing sides, it's no longer just about the game, it's about shaping the future of the sport. Caitlin Clark has made headlines since she joined the WNBA. Her talent, hard ethic, and humble personality have helped her become the face of modern women's basketball. But the look on her face when Angel Reese and Larry Bird announced their partnership said it all. She had no idea. There's no warning. For the first time, she was the reaction, rather than the headline. This was not a publicity stunt. According to insiders, this move had been planned for months. Keep airtight, deliberate, strategic. And it struck like lightning in broad daylight. Angel Reese did not simply land a deal. She claimed to be a mentor. She entered a location that many assumed was destined for someone else, perhaps, even Clark. What ensued was a media frenzy. Social media platforms erupted. Sports anchors rewrote their scripts. Analysts began to question the current order in women's basketball. While some fans praised the decision as creative, others viewed it as divisive, calculating, and even disrespectful of tradition. But that's the thing with Reese. She doesn't follow the rules. She redefines them. Angel Reese's work with Larry Bird transforms brand influence in women's sports. Caitlin Clark's silence raises concerns about behind-the-scenes competitiveness. This announcement represents a shift in WNBA marketing, player positioning, and cross-generational mentorship. Bird's engagement offers this relationship more than just clout. It grants it authority. We are referring to a man whose name is synonymous with basketball principles, whose accomplishments have inspired generations. And now he's supporting a player who many thought was too contentious, too brash, or too unusual. But that is what makes this place so magical. Bird sees something in Reese that the mainstream hasn't quite comprehended yet, a leader capable of igniting the sport's next phase. When old school greatness aligns with new school swagger, it's no longer about rivalry, it's about revolution. What are the implications? They are huge. This is more than just visibility. It's about power, mentorship, access, and long-term strategy. Bird's resources, reputation, and reach have now been combined with Reese's modern momentum and popularity. Suddenly, the landscape has changed. What about Caitlin Clark? She is no longer alone in determining the league's future. She has competition in the boardroom as well as on the court. This move forces Clark to rethink her own business strategy, to be more proactive, strategic, and perhaps even aggressive in exploiting her platform. Because, in 2025, basketball is more than simply a game, it is also